Randviscracy, Introduction and Method of Random Panel Selection. I am working on finishing up my second and third books. One is about debunking the myths of WW2 and the other about a new form of government, influenced by the sortition of the Athenians, minus the democracy part, that seeks to eliminate corruption through the extensive use of semi-randomly selected panels. These panels would be used for all government policy decisions such as creation of laws, budgets, and awarding of contracts, hiring decisions, declaration of war and civil disputes. These panels would be temporary, tasked with one decision or policy creation, rather than officials. They would also be voluntary. People would register to be entered into the pool of potential panel members. What got me interested in coming up with a new form of government was thinking of what is the best way to prevent corruption. I then got the idea of randomly selected panels, because who do you bribe when it is unknown who will be assigned to which panel? In coming up with a method of preventing corruption, I independently rediscovered sortition. I had never heard of it, but after searching for governments which involved randomization I found out about sortition. The Athenians had chosen the method of using random appointment for the very same reason. It is an effective way of preventing corruption. I will post several excerpts over the coming weeks. Here is the first. It is about the selection process for the panels. Subscribe with the form on the right panel to get updates. Excerpts from Randviscracy, Ending Corruption in Government. Tentative book cover I made. If you are a graphic designer and can make a better version based on this design, contact me. The device you see in the bottom two panels is called a colroterion. It is a randomization device used by the Athenians. Corruption, the Achilles heel of all governments. All governments from democracies to socialist states are susceptible to corruption via bribes. In America and most other countries around the world there is a system of institutionalized bribery. In America, we are lucky that we have a lot less than many countries, but we still have it, just concentrated at higher levels than in many other governments. The way the democracy is set up, politicians depend on these bribes or political contributions. They need advertising funds in order to get elected/re-elected. The promotional budgets of each candidate can make a large difference in who wins. Because of this, they spend most of their time fundraising, which is basically just asking for bribes. If you looked at a typical politician's schedule, you would think they are a telemarketer. They spend so much time on the phone seeking contributions. This system is inherently corrupt because once they are bribed with political contributions they are expected to do favors in return for those bribes. Corruption is prevented in Randviscracy via randomly selected panels. The random selection process of any decision or appointment can be contested and reviewed. Legal costs are paid by the contester, unless corruption is discovered, in which fines of the corrupt persons/entities will pay the legal costs of the contester, their own legal fees and the costs incurred by the state, in addition to other penalties/fines. Randviscracy overview. The way this government would work is primarily through a court system. The decisions of the government and the courts would be based on randomized selection of experts. For example, if a case involved a topic in the field of computer science, then the randomized selection would be from a pool of candidates who have experience in that field. People could voluntarily sign up to be in the pool of experts. They would have to certify their credentials, their education, their experience, and training in the field. In this way people would be selected as advisors/instruments of the government such as jurors, decision makers, etc. This would be on a temporary basis and randomly selected. This would make it nearly impossible for the system to become corrupted, because who do you bribe in a system like this? Perhaps the builders of the selection process itself, but this could also be checked by randomly selected experts. It would be important to keep the pool of experts in whom are selected a secret. In this way, people who wanted to bribe officials in the government would not even know whom to bribe. Again, as extra protection have independent panels to check the selection process on a random basis to verify integrity. These processes will help ensure there is minimal corruption, which is most governments' greatest weakness. Another protection mechanism could be the insertion of fake candidates or officials who would be there as monitors to catch attempts at bribery or subversion. For example, let's say there is a panel being created to decide on a new law. A monitor is placed into the pool. If there is a corrupt person with access to the list of selected candidates and the monitor receives a contact in an attempt to influence their decision, they could inform on who is attempting the subversion. The process of selection for random panels. Panels are semi-randomly selected from citizens using weighted system based on 1 year of experience in applicable field and 2 IQ level. Criminal records which relate to treason or corruption disqualify citizens from eligibility for selection. The considerations are equally weighted. How this works: a person in the 90% percentile has 10x the chance of being selected as someone in the 9% percentile. The percentile are combined, so one person with a 90% IQ and a 10% experience ranking would have an equal chance of being selected as a person with a 10% IQ and 90% experience percentile ranking. The idea behind using randomly selected panels is to prevent a corruptible bureaucracy. Prevention of stalling mandate. Random panels are to only take the amount of time that it is necessary to become reasonably informed on the subject to feel confident in their decisions. Once a majority of the panel members have reported that their decision is ready, a request for deadline will be asked of the panel members who have not come to a conclusion. The average of these will become the scheduled deadline. If needed, any citizen can apply for a justification of delay for a case by paying a fee to cover the cost of inquiry. Then the panel members who are not ready must justify their schedule by submitting a report to be reviewed by 3 randomly selected experts in the applicable field, the reviewers. Along with their justification report, the panel will submit a request for a length of time to finish their case. The 3 randomly selected experts will then independently review and approve or reject their request, and in the case of a rejection, supply a new suggested deadline. If 2 or more reviewers reject the suggested schedule, the average of their suggested schedules will become the new deadline. Sharing is caring. Share. Random quote. Pride in one's own race, and that does not imply contempt for other races, is also a normal and healthy sentiment. I have never regarded the Chinese or the Japanese as being inferior to ourselves. They belong to ancient civilizations, and I admit freely that their past history is superior to our own. They have the right to be proud of their past, just as we have the right to be proud of the civilization to which we belong. Indeed, I believe the more steadfast the Chinese and the Japanese remain in their pride of race, the easier I shall find it to get on with them. Adolf Hitler, The Hitler-Bormann Documents, 1945.